What's up, Internet? Welcome to Once Over. I'm Kaylee, and with me today is the Vern, and we're going to be giving the Once Over to Swiss Army Man. There will be spoilers.
Give it a good once over.
Giving us the once over. Giving him the once over.
Give me a once over.
Down to give us the once over.
For a routine once over.
Once over.
Oh, just once over lightly.
Well, unfortunately, I think that the Vern is pretty much Manny right now. I think that we all know about this movie, Swiss Army Man, which came out in 2016, and it is the story of a marooned man who escapes loneliness by bonding with a waterlogged corpse that, of course, doubles as a fart-powered jet ski. Pretty exciting stuff.
Am I alive or am I dead? I don't know exactly how I'm feeling, but I don't understand why is it that you are embarrassed to fart in front of me. Because if you fart, you'll be happy. And people like to be happy. And I don't know why you don't want to be happy and why you're embarrassed to masturbate. Because masturbation makes people happy and you should be happy. And I think your mom wants to see you happy, so you should masturbate in front of your mom more.
You know what, the Vern? When I masturbate, I'm going to think about your mom.
Well, see, they can't say stuff like that, but it makes people happy. And wait, I'm coming back.
Thank goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
I'm
love
back.
it.
Hello. Oh, wow. Just talking about farts and masturbation really makes me wide and awake, and I feel energized now.
You know, boner-based GPS is probably one of my favorite things that happens in this movie. This is a wacky one.
Very much so. This is the early days of A24 when they were doing all the wacky stuff, and I remember trailers for this and being completely wow, who greenlit this? This is absolutely just nuts and crazy. But despite all the craziness, there is a lot of heart and warmth to this movie that I was not expecting, because the basic premise sounds like it could be a 15-minute SNL skit. A bad SNL skit that can turn into a movie. I know you've been covering a lot of those SNL movies on your show. I was just very, very surprised about how sweet this is. And this is the debut film from Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, who went on to direct and write the Academy Award winning Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is their debut film. They have music videos from past. Have you seen that Turned Down for What music video?
I have. Amazing.
It is so good.
It's so good.
Those cats doing that video, going on to make this, and the whole boner thing that they had in the movie in that music video is a broom handle being used, and now they have better practical effects in this one. So yeah.
I am a huge fan of the Daniels. I think that they are incredibly talented. I always say when I'm talking about Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, I could never have guessed in a million years that a scene with two rocks talking to each other would break me down emotionally in the way that they were able to do. I cry like a baby during all of their movies.
Very much so, and that is a great sequence there. There is a sequence when both Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe are having the scene outside of this house, and Daniel Radcliffe has this speech that just melts my heart every time I hear it.
I will say about Swiss Army Man, this movie, it is about friendship, it's about delusion, it's about the truth, and of course it is about Daniel Radcliffe as a dead body who is basically a Swiss Army knife and can do anything. He has magical powers and helps to save Paul Dano's character from sorrow and depression. And you would never in a million years think that that would work and that it would bring you to tears, but I cry the entire movie every single time that I am watching this one.
This is a movie that makes you learn to love yourself, because I think that's what Paul Dano's character is doing in this movie. He's learning to finally love and appreciate himself, despite all the weirdness he thinks that he is, and because he's trying to basically bring this Manny character to life, but I think he's really just trying to bring himself more to life and things.
And I think that is very heavily supported with a couple of scenes in the movie. So I'm going to just kind of describe the beginning and then a later scene in this film that I really think exemplifies the point that you just made. So the movie opens up with the character Hank, played by my favorite, Paul Dano.
Your crush.
Hey.
Yep.
My crush. I love him. I love that you and I are wingmanning for each other now at this point. You and I have been just like talking about all the people that we love. We were over on your channel. We talked about Sydney Sweeney. We've talked about Crispin Glover. We love him. And Paul Dano, he's my dude. I love him. He's so great.
I got more crushes for you to tell you about later.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about Paul Dano. This is your show. I am curious though, where did you first see Paul Dano?
You know, this might be the movie that made me fall in love with him.
Okay.
It was probably Little Miss Sunshine. Fuck! That was the one where I was like, who the heck is this guy?
Because he doesn't talk. You want a man that doesn't talk?
Yes. I want a man who doesn't talk and who loves his fart-powered buddy. Let me hop back a little bit. Okay,
Sure.
So the beginning of the movie opens up with Paul Dano's character, Hank, deserted on an island, and he is about to hang himself before he discovers Manny, a corpse that is washed up on the beach. During this sequence, something very important happens. Paul is describing, Hank is describing, that he wishes that he had the experience of when he is dying, having a beautiful life flash before his eyes. He's fantasizing about that, but he says, I didn't see anything. I didn't see an exciting life. I didn't see all of the things that I wanted to have in there. Later in the film, we actually get to see both Hank and Manny have a near-death experience as they fall from a little rickety bridge sort of thing. As the film progresses, what we get to see there is that his life does start to flash before his eyes, and all of those memories are relating to Manny. That is the true power of friendship that occurs in this movie, and I think it's just stunningly beautiful.
A really great testament, and I think that both Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe, I think they both have great chemistry with each other, and yes, it's a great friendship tale. Now, I will admit, when I first saw this movie, I really thought that Manny was Hank's manifestation. Like, he was just pretending to see this dead character. Because I really thought that Manny is actually Hank, and they're both the same sort of person.
I think that that's a really interesting take on the film. Certainly, we know that to some extent, Hank controls this dead body. He drags him around the woods. He is making him talk. And Manny starts to take on his own character as the film goes on. But most of his knowledge is based on what Hank tells him. So Manny doesn't know anything about the world. And Hank has to kind of keep telling him and explaining to him what things mean. Like at one point, he has to explain what the word weird means, which I love that sequence so very much.
Yeah, it almost feels like Manny is what Hank wants to be like. Manny doesn't understand that stuff is like weird. And so when he has like the boner happen or farts happen, Manny's not really embarrassed by the stuff, but Hank is. And I think through Manny, Hank realizes that it's okay to have these things happen. It's all about human nature.
At the end of this movie, I don't know that I understand who Manny is and how he existed, and if he truly was a Swiss Army man who is a jet ski, the boner-based GPS, a water fountain, a gun, an axe, a shower, a scuba tank, a grappling hook. He's a fire starter. I mean, he truly is a Swiss Army man. He can do anything.
Defense against bears too. I mean, can do it all.
Yeah. This movie, it very much is like Weekend at Bernie's on acid if it was also Crying in the Woods. However, I'm not actually even a huge fan of Weekend at Bernie's, and I believe that at the time that they created this movie, neither of the Daniels had actually seen that movie. So that's why it feels so drastically different to another movie where a dead guy is the star.
Yeah, that's a good comparison for Weekend at Bernie's, and I love that very much. I think what the Daniels do for this movie, they treat this as a serious drama, and that's where the comedy lends into it. When you treat a movie as being serious, that's where the comedy shines, and that's also where the heart and emotion shines in it too. I love the fact that the Daniels wanted to create something bizarre and crazy, but also talk about the human experience as well and all the stuff that we go through as human beings. It's a little bit crazy, it's a little bit strange, but we all go through the stuff. I think what Hank is trying to figure out is his humanity and him being a real person. And he doesn't need to be shy or embarrassed by stuff that he's going through. He just has to learn to accept it. And I think this movie just shows that, hey, we are imperfection human beings, all right? We're awkward. We're strange. We're weird. But we all want to feel loved and have love with each other and everything. And I just think that's absolutely great.
If I'm trying to sell this movie to somebody who hasn't seen it, I always say, just watch the opening sequence. Watch the first 10 minutes. I have never been more comforted by a set of scenes than I am here. We open up on the ocean. There's a help me juice box. There's food containers. There's notes that say, I got stuck in a storm. I am somewhere is one of the notes. And then shortly after that, when Hank finds Manny, he uses Manny as a fart-powered jet ski in order to escape this island. And I'm crying during the sequence. I'm literally crying because it's so dang beautiful and hilarious at the same time. There's never a time where farts are not funny. I think at one point, I forget who said it, but I believe it was one of the Daniels. He said, I want the first fart in the film to make you laugh, and I want the last fart in the film to make you cry. And boy, did they succeed with that.
Very much so. I do know that in making of this, they used a bunch of practical effect dummies for Manny. And they actually had a dummy raft that actually had bubbles blown out the butt area to make it go.
I've never wanted a movie prop more than that. That's the movie prop that I want to own. That's so funny. And you're totally right. They did use a bunch of dummies for Daniel Radcliffe, but he also was very particular about how they used the dummies. He really wanted to be in a lot of the scenes, even when a dummy could have done it, because it gives this dead body humanity. In fact, when they were kind of promoting the movie a whole bunch, Daniel Radcliffe actually went to a bunch of big cities, I think LA and New York, with the dummy to do promotion. So he was just, sitting on a bus, like arm in arm with his dummy that looks exactly like him, which is also hilarious. And what a great marketing campaign.
I will admit, though, when you first watch this movie, it's very kind of confusing because you're not quite sure exactly how to feel about these characters. You don't know for sure if the hate guy, if he is actually crazy or is he delusional or not. When we get to the end right there, that's where things kind of change in my perspective of that character. Because throughout this whole movie, Hank has been obsessed with this girl, Laura, played by one of my crushes, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. He's also trying to tell Manny about this, and he makes it seem like this was Manny's girlfriend and that Manny and her were going to have a relationship. And that's why there's that great sequence where Hank and Manny recreate the bus.
Oh my God, it's so great.
There's a sequence where he gets a bunch of photographs of the outside and has it go by the window.
Yeah, it looks like he's riding on a bus and he's creating these experiences for Manny that are really experiences that he had. Despite the fact that he won't fart in front of Manny, he is sharing some of his most personal demons with this dead corpse that he lugs around everywhere.
Hate makes it seem like, he has no friends and no one loves him at all. And I think through Manny, Hank realizes that he actually is loved and people do care about him.
This is the first time that he has felt camaraderie and connection with somebody, and that somebody happens to be dead.
Which I have to ask this too. Despite all the farts that Manny does, this is a dead body that Hank is carrying around everywhere. That body has got to smell.
It's got to smell so bad.
Just a little bit rotten. Plus, we have no idea how long Manny has been floating in seas.
I don't really want to think about how he smells, but that does lead us into a nice segue. Not only do we have all of the farts, also there was a fartist credited in the credits for this movie, which is hilarious to me, a fartist. I believe it's the only movie ever to have a fartist credited. But in addition to that, we have tons and tons of poop talk. There is poop everywhere in this movie. At one point, Hank steps in a giant predator's piece of poop. He recreates the child's book, Everybody Poops, and describes that life comes from poop, and we should be both afraid of poop and love it, and everybody does it, and it's normal to poop. This movie smells bad. I think you're right.
But it's filled with heart, too, so you don't really mind it so much.
I think that a big part of why it feels so heartfelt is because of the soundtrack of this film. I loved the opening sequence, so I just always want to talk about it. We get this hilarious propeller butt while we have this beautiful song that's like da 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 da. The whole soundtrack was created by a couple of the guys who are in Manchester Orchestra. And they did such an amazing job. And it really turns what could be a silly movie into something that makes me cry and feel all of the emotions, because every time a song starts playing, I can't help but feel.
Oh, yeah. The musicians for that was Andy Hull, Robert McDowell, and Jeremy Michael Cain. Yeah, very good the way they use vocals. I know over on the Twitter sphere from Cinematic Sound Radio, they said about the soundtrack, it features one of the best scores of the century, and the fact that it didn't get an Academy Award nomination is an abomination. The track alone for Montage should have made it automatic.
I could not agree with Cinematic Sound Radio anymore. I think that the score of this is amazing. It bolsters all of the feelings that you're having. So every time that they want you to feel sad, boy, is that song sad. Every single time that they want you to laugh, I can't stop laughing.
I actually do chirp a little bit when they even do a reprisal of the Jurassic Park theme.
And I will say, you actually mentioned earlier that the love interest, the girl on the phone, you mentioned that her name was Laura, and actually her name is Sarah. They call her Laura for a little while because of all of the Jurassic Park references. So at one point they're talking about Laura Dern. So they do call her Laura for a little while, but her real name is Sarah.
It is Sarah. I just keep hearing like Laura. I'm like, oh, Laura from like, okay, you're right, Laura Dern. All right, that makes sense.
The Jurassic Park references in this, boy, oh boy, do they build me up. At one point, Hank is like describing, he's like, and then the camera pans in, and then he starts singing the Jurassic Park theme song. It's so silly to see the pop culture in this otherwise very lonely movie. These guys are stranded in the woods for most of the film. They are living off of trash. They are excited to find a Sports Illustrated and cheese puffs. And yet the thing that is bringing them comfort also is the movie Jurassic Park, which is just so dang silly.
I think that happens a lot of times with like friendship, is that we are connected through pop culture and the art that we know. It happens through years, like through like stories. People are connected by what they are familiar with. That's when we do like this podcast. We are connected with all these friends and everything too by what we love and enjoy.
I would love to hear a little bit more about your kind of experience with first seeing this movie. What was like your initial reactions to it?
So I remember seeing trailers for this, and this happened around the time when A24 was just releasing odd trailers, and they were like the only studio at that time that was releasing original movies. They weren't doing like IPs or sequels or reboots. They were doing absolute new stories. So when I saw the trailers for this, I had no idea who the Daniels were. I just knew Daniel Radcliffe is a corpse that can do a whole bunch of things, and he talks. I'm thinking, all right, this is going to be very silly. I was on board when I saw Paul Daniel riding Daniel Radcliffe through the water, and I was like, this is great.
I'm in. Yeah.
The movie goes on, and I started to feel like Paul Dano's character a little bit in this, and I thought that there was all those missed opportunities that I felt that he had, the girl on the bus and things like that. Should I say something? I don't want to mess anything up there. But my attitudes towards his character sort of like changed a little bit near the end when they do discover the house where Sarah is at. And
yes,
I thought Mark has been really kind of obsessed with this girl for a while. He took a picture of her and he thinks that she's alone. So my theory is that Mark actually followed Sarah home and then found out that she had a family with a husband and a kid, decided to go out to the water, got lost, and then he ended up on the island. And then he's thinking that no one loves him. This girl that he likes actually has a family, decides to kill himself until he sees the corpse. And throughout their adventures, brings him back there. That's where he discovers his humanity and actually learns to love himself. When he sees Sarah, he can't actually talk, but she knows that he's been stranded on an island and she wants to do good for him. Then when she sees pictures he's taken of her, that's where she gets weirded out. And that's where I get kind of weirded out because, like, were you stalking this girl? She didn't love you, and that's why you decided to take your own life? I don't know, buddy. All right, that's a little bit strange that you've been stalking this girl for like a long time because there's other girls out there, all right?
Yeah.
It probably would have been so weird if you just would have been like, hi, how's it going? But I get that whole nervousness there because I get that way too sometimes. I don't know. That's where I get a little bit torn on this movie.
What is so interesting about this movie and what is so interesting about what the Daniels do, they play with our emotions so drastically in this film. The whole movie, you are rooting for Hank. You just want Hank to succeed. You want everything to be wonderful for him. We all have a little bit of Hank inside of us. We all want more friendship. We all want to feel things deeper. We all want to be able to share things that are intimate with our friends, like farting. But we always hide all of those things away, and we can't necessarily get all of that out. And I think every human feels like that. And then the end packs this punch of, whoa, why did you like this guy? You probably shouldn't have liked this crazy guy who was dragging around a corpse. And it catches you out of left field because the whole film, you're so in love with him. And then it turns out that he is probably a creepy, creepy weirdo.
Yeah, but also at the same time, too, I think what Hank is discovering for himself is stuff that we should all do.
Absolutely.
Hank really can't expect to have a relationship with anyone or love another person until he truly loves himself. He may not get the girl at the end of the movie, but what he does get back is his own humanity, his own heart. He learns to fully embrace and love himself. And that's why the moment when Hank actually farts in front of people, that is a huge thing for that character because Hank always kept things bottled up inside. He just, did farted in private. And that's why I mentioned, too, there's that great moment when Manny says to him along, like, why are you making me do all these farts all the time? Why can't you just fart in front of people? And so when Hank actually does fart in front of everyone and admits it, that is a huge test of strength for that character. That is where he just really learns to love and embrace himself. So, Kaylee, please embrace your farts.
I will embrace them. I love that part of his character arc. He is timid and he is afraid to be himself. And by the end of the film, he truly is being himself. At first, when he gets caught, so when he gets brought into Sarah's backyard and the news comes and everything, at first he tells everybody that he is Manny and that Manny is Hank. But he comes clean about that. He learned honesty. He learned to be who he truly is. That's all that we can, again, ever hope to do as humans is we want to be ourselves. We want to follow a boner compass in life. We want to reach for the stars. We want to enjoy songs. One of my favorite quotes from this film is, "I'm singing a song so that you won't overthink things." Boy, do we all feel like that. Sometimes we need to disassociate. Sometimes we need to not be ourselves, but we also should be.
I do that sometimes when I'm at work and when things get too overstimulating for me sometimes. I beatbox to myself.
We like to be afraid of the things that we want. Maybe we don't like to do that, but we are. We're afraid of the things that we want. And that certainly is what the character of Hank is experiencing. There are so many beautiful moments in this film. I could talk about any one scene in this film for hours. That's how much I truly love this. For me, this is the best film that the Daniels made. I love everything that they've done, but I cannot get over this movie. There are moments where they say things like, Before the internet, every girl was a lot more special. And what is Netflix? And people don't want trash because it's smelly and old and broken. And what is life and what is death? And phones are beautiful.
Totally going back to what you said, too, about women were feeling more special before the internet. Because remember, getting those issues of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, the imagination you have about what they look like underneath there, too. And now with the internet, it's just so easy to see nudity. I remember when side boob was like, attractive thing.
So exciting. Yeah, I know every single guy that I ever know has J-O'd to a Sears catalog before the internet days. That was just the thing that you did. And we get to see that as Manny learns who he is also, because he doesn't know a lot about the world. He doesn't know what a lot of words mean. He doesn't understand the cheese puff dust. And he asks at one point, am I dead? What is home? He says. And I just love it.
And to have a movie where just only two actors throughout most of the movie is a really kind of a cool thing to see, almost kind of a rare thing to see too. The conflict in this movie is just about trying to find their way home. There's not an additional villain that's trying to stop them from their plans. It's just a simple story about these two characters getting home. The only really type of villain they have in this is the bear. Even that too is like, we're going to be turned into poop, but it's okay because that's human nature, and that's what we get turned into. That was a real bear, by the way, that they had on set there, which I found to be crazy.
I know, they're crazy. Every single time that I see a bear on screen, I start thinking of Grizzly Man, and then I can't get over that either, which is another movie that just brings me to tears.
Which is strange, too, because, this is the Daniels, first movie that they did, and to allow that type of, risk that they had with the bear and the practical effects. This movie, I think, was made for only $3 million, and it made over 5.8. People like to see original stories,
Not only that, they filmed this in 22 days. How is it that in 22 days, you made me cry like a little baby at farts? Let's talk a little bit more about that Sports Illustrated and all the excitement surrounding that. So they find the Sports Illustrated, Manny sees it, he starts fantasizing, and he gets a boner. And his first response to getting a boner is, I'm disgusting. We repress sexuality. We don't want to talk about it. We all feel weird because of our sexuality. They have some conversations about fetishes at one point. And again, that is just the humanity that exists within this. That is our feeling when we experience a raging boner at an inopportune time.
I like boobs. I like feet. All right. Yay.
Yeah. That's great. I think that's wonderful. I don't like farts or poop. I will say that.
Okay. I'm not a fart fetish either. Nope. All right.
Just in this movie, I like farts and poop.
My girl, you can fart in front of me all you want to. I will not turn you away. All right. But do not ask me to smell it. All right.
Yes. Another scene that I think that we should dive into a little bit more. You already mentioned this one a little. At one point, Hank does create an entire universe. So he builds a bus. He builds a restaurant for the two of them to eat at. He creates this little woodland world. And it is so stunningly beautiful to see him turning trash, which he earlier in the film describes as trash. It's so nice to see him turning that into something that is so beautiful for them. And I think that those sequences are perhaps some of the most memorable of the film, because it truly is where the two characters start to share more about their lives.
They remind me of stuff you would see in a Wes Anderson movie, but it's not just done for style purposes. There's heart and humanity about it. Seeing all the when they use movie screens and they're doing shadows for to recreate movies, I thought that to be a very sweet thing. I like the fact too that Paul Dano's main character goes and dresses up like Sarah. It's that moment when she comes onto the bus and Manny is seeing her. That sort of helps Manny come to life a little bit more, but also Hank seeing Manny seeing Sarah is making Hank see things through his eyes. Now he saw her for the first time, and it's making Hank become more alive. So even though Hank is trying to make Manny seem more alive, at the same time, Hank himself is feeling the same emotions and he's feeling alive too. And you, as the audience, are seeing Hank react to Manny, and it's making you think about your own past and experiences too. And you start to love these characters and situations.
So very much. And again, I do think that the idea that Hank dresses up as Sarah in order for them to do some little role plays, they're having this like big party, they're having fun. At one point during the sequence, when they're on the bus, probably my favorite moment of that sequence is at one point, Hank puts sunglasses on Manny and then walks him up to Sarah like a cool guy. And it's just so perfectly done. It's so perfectly done. But also, while Hank is dressed up as Sarah, Manny shares a story with Sarah about Hank masturbating. So he starts sharing with Sarah this private conversation that him and Hank had about how Hank can't masturbate anymore because it would displease his mother and it makes him think about his mother. Hank gets very embarrassed in this moment. He's like, don't share that with Sarah. That's private. We had a private conversation. But Manny pushes on in that story. And by the end of this party, we have a moment where the two characters almost kiss because there is so much love between the two of them before, of course, they realize that they're drunk and then they end up going to bed. It's so well done. And I am so in love with both of them in those moments. It feels so real to be able to have these, oh my God, don't share what I just shared with you. That's my personal timid. I don't want everybody to know about that information.
So was like Manny and Hank gonna like kiss, or was Manny still seeing Hank as Sarah?
It's interesting because Hank knew it was Manny. I think Hank leans in for the kiss more than Manny does.
Oh, okay. Is this a story more about Hank discovering his own homosexuality? I don't know.
That's interesting. I always have seen it as a friendship story in the past, but I do think that you're onto something here. They certainly have a very loving relationship, and they do actually end up sharing a kiss a little bit later, sort of, I guess, when they fall into water at one point, and Hank has flashes of his life with Manny. They both are underwater, and Manny ends up getting used as a scuba respirator. So they do kiss in that moment, and it certainly seems a little bit more intimate than just a life-saving measure, I suppose you could say.
This also makes me go back to what I said earlier, where I thought that Manny was a manifestation of what hate is. Him kissing Manny is almost like kissing himself.
Him acknowledging himself.
Him learning to love himself again and being more happy with who he is, I mean, that's why they talk about masturbations. There's that great quote in Annie Hall, like, do not knock masturbation. It's sex with someone I love. I think that's what he's trying to establish more about self-love and love himself. And Manny's sort of a representation about who Hank wants to be like. Manny just sees everything in the open world, and Manny is curious. He asks questions. He's not ashamed about stuff that's happened to him. So I think that Hank is trying to establish that more, because you can't love anyone else until you love yourself, and that's what Hank is trying to do. He's trying to love himself more with this, Kaylee.
I think that you're totally onto something. So I did have a little bit of a possible theory about some stuff that was happening here. We can agree that it's hard to tell what of this movie is delusion and what of this movie is real. Mm-hmm. So is Manny ever coming to life, or is all of that in Hank's head? There's certainly question marks that still exist at the end of the film. But what I noticed upon this rewatch, and I don't think I'm right about this, but I think it's worth throwing out there. I think it's possible that in the beginning of the movie, when Hank is about to hang himself, that he in fact does hang himself and he dies, and his life flashing before his eyes is the rest of the movie.
Okay.
It's a little wild. But 2 times throughout the film, he talks about the idea of his life flashing before his eyes when he's dying. And it's not clear that the rope breaks when he's trying to hang himself. So perhaps he actually dies, and then the rest of the film is just death.
Wow. That is a crazy thing.
It's crazy.
But wouldn't he rather want to fantasize about spending his time more with Sarah than he would a dead body? As much as I would like a farting Daniel Radcliffe to hang out with and build forts with there, I am going to totally choose spending time with Mary Elizabeth Winstead at any moment over Daniel Radcliffe. I love Daniel Radcliffe, but Mary Elizabeth Winstead, oh.
She's the one for you. I did see an interesting fact talking about the Cloverfield movies on my channel with Husey, both in Swiss Army Man and in 10 Cloverfield Lane. Her last line in the movie is fuck. And I was like, oh,
really?
That's a nice little fun fact. I like that.
I find it kind of like strange and good they actually got her to play a very small part in this movie. I think they only had her on there for like one day. She only has very small interactions with Paul Dano, but I still thought that she was great. And I really think that her character sort of represents the audience avatar in this one. She's the one that says, all right, I'm really kind of confused by this. And at first she's like, oh, I feel really bad about what happened to you. She actually does really care about hate. Not any sort of like romantic love way, but she's concerned. Well, first of all, she's scared, rightfully so. This strange guy is talking to her little girl. As any parent out there, that's cause for alarm. But when she learns about what happened to hate, she's like, well, what are you taking care of? No worry. And then when the police give her his phone and she sees that all the photographs were taken of her, that's also a sign for alarm. So through those small moments that she has, she sort of represents how us, the audience, are watching this movie. We care, we're scared, and at the end, we're both kind of saying, what the fuck?
Yeah, why is this happening? There's a moment where at the end when they're on the beach, in her eyes, you can see like she's starting to kind of believe. I feel like every character in this film, and there are very few characters, has these moments of like, whoa, I believe everything that's happening. I can't believe what I'm seeing with my own eyes. And she does that, and it's quite magical and quite lovely.
And just through like just simple looks or small phrases she gives, because she really doesn't talk much in this, and you really could have had any actor be in this one, and I'm glad that they actually picked her for that.
Yeah, me too. I will say also that one of the other things that I really loved about her, she's third billed in this film. So it's Paul Dano, Daniel Radcliffe, and then her. She has about 5 minutes of screen time, I think, despite the fact that we see her pictures. She doesn't show up in the film until probably the last like 10-ish minutes. It's so unique that we get to see this whole universe. I guess this is kind of a world-building movie in that way. We get to see this whole universe that Hank has created before we get to see how it impacts the real world. And she's representative of that real world.
She is. Yeah, 100%. She's seen things the way that we are seeing things too. We need to have a character who is sort of grounded in reality a little bit to make the fantasy more real, if that makes sense. I love Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe and them going through these adventures, but it's also great to have another character being in there going, okay, what the absolute fuck is going on here?
Yeah, why are we seeing this?
Why are we seeing this movie about this guy and this like rotten corpse of a man and
a fart machine of a man? A fart machine of a man.
This is absolutely bonkers crazy. How this got to be released by a wide studio at the time is just absolutely bonkers. But there's heart, and I think the main heart about this movie is how Paul Dano's character is learning to love himself, and that's where a lot of the emotion in the movie comes for me. Despite how I feel about his actions towards Sarah is a little bit off-putting and a little strange there, I still feel like he's still a good guy.
I would completely agree with you on that. There really are no inherently good or inherently bad people. Everybody is a spectrum of both good and bad, and Hank certainly has that in spades. He is enchanting and magical and interesting and sweet, and he's also a total creep weirdo who is probably stalking a girl. There's an implication at one point also that he actually killed Manny. So who even knows? Maybe he killed Manny, and that's why Manny is a corpse.
Oh, jeez. Wow, that's got even, like, more darker. I thought it was dark enough. He's talking to this girl. No, I kind of wish there was a sequence, even though we don't really need it, because I like the beginning, too, which just shows, like, the messages. It would be nice to know how Hank got onto that island in a little like credit montage. It's not needed for the movie, but I'm just kind of curious. When he does ride the corpse and he goes and finds land, they are really close to where Sarah's house is. How much of a boat journey did you take? Did you actually take a boat journey, or were you trying to drown yourself in the water? I don't know.
You know what I would love to see? I would love to see somebody make a short fan fiction just of how Manny got to the island. And maybe even a little bit about who Manny was before all of this. You know, I'm interested in him.
A spin-off Manny movie? That would be great.
Yeah.
Why not? Let's do a Manny and Weekend at Bernie's sort of crossover.
Yes, I'm so in for that. I can't say enough good about this movie. This is one of those films that I think it's near impossible to describe. And I think that a big part of that is something that you've already hit on, which is the fact that it was distributed by A24. A24 at the time, especially, obviously they've shifted as a studio how they are now, especially after Civil War. But A24 at the time was really giving people a chance to do whatever weird and wacky stuff that they wanted to do. And that's why we got such incredible movies like this one, like Hereditary. They were giving new directors a chance to do something really, really wild. And because of that, we got Swiss Army Man, and we got eventually Everything Everywhere All at Once, which we probably wouldn't have gotten if it wasn't for this.
That's true. Now, you mentioned earlier, this is your favorite movie that the Daniels have done.
It is.
You like this more than Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Everybody always shits on me because I say that. I like this so much better.
I am not going to shun anyone's opinions about a movie right there. I love this movie, but I really love Everything Everywhere All at Once. That movie just makes me cry so much harder.
I cry so much in that movie. Don't get me wrong. I love Everything Everywhere All at Once. But what I will say is that Everything Everywhere All at Once to me has almost too many themes. I'm feeling too much in that movie. And so despite the fact that I love it, it's almost a trudge for me to watch it. Don't get me wrong. Again, I cry the whole time like a little teeny tiny baby. I'm like in the fetal position every time that I rewatch that movie. And I love emoting during a film. I want to always feel emotions whenever I'm watching a movie. But this movie feels so much more targeted. This movie feels like it is an exploration of self. It is an exploration of truth. It is an exploration of humanity. And I like the fact that this one makes me feel all of those things, but I know exactly what I'm feeling in any given scene. And it's more cohesive, I guess.
I understand that too. See, I actually enjoy all the heaviness emotions that Everything Everywhere All at Once has. And the more of that. And I like Swiss Army Man for storyline, but give me more scenes, impact me more and more and more. And so, yeah.
You just like the fingers.
The fingers, the whole like butt plug things right there. And I'm so happy too that the Daniels were able to, like, with Swiss Army Man, get enough of a budget to make Everything Ever All at Once. And I cannot wait for the third feature.
I am so enchanted by them. I think that they understand human emotions in a really unique way. I'm a big poetry fan, and a lot of the time there are poems that will just bring me to tears. And it's because somebody has done such a great job of concisely expressing something that all humans explore. That is exactly what the Daniels do for film. The Daniels have this innate ability to understand what we go through as humans, and they have an innate ability to express that. And not everybody can do that. I stumble over words. I could never express emotions in the way that they do, especially if I was trying to express emotions with farts. Yes. Like, it's crazy that this fart movie makes me cry. It's crazy that I am watching somebody fart on a screen and I'm crying like a baby. That's amazing.
I agree with you what they say about their vision and their poetry through their dialogue. I love the fact, too, that the Daniels are very collaborative filmmakers with their cast and their crew. Everyone just wants to work hard for them, and they respect everyone on their sets, from the people that bring them food to the cinematographer to their set designs, their actors. Everyone feels that they are a collaborative part of the feature, and the Daniels never made themselves to be the all-in-all auteur of the film, because movie making is a collaborative effort, and I think the Daniels do a good job of doing that.
Have you ever seen the TV short that they did called Broom Shakalaka?
Broom Shakalaka? No.
Oh, it's wacky. I was actually just introduced to that by my friend Trucker Andy. I would highly recommend watching it. It's like an infomercial that has an all-purpose broom called the Broom Shakalaka, obviously, and they're filming this infomercial, but things keep going violently wrong on set. And I usually don't like comedy like that, but they did an amazing job on it. I think that it was from well before this movie came out. Swiss Army Man came out in 2016, and Broom Shakalaka was 2013. It's only 11 minutes. I highly recommend it. It's probably on YouTube.
Okay, I was gonna, you mentioned a show. Is like this like a series of shorts they did, or just this one they did?
No, it was just this one. I believe that it was a part of a series, but I don't know a ton about it. It's if you like the Daniels, you will like it. I will say that.
Fair enough. I will look forward to that. But here's the thing, too. Now that the Daniels have won the Oscar for Everything Ever All at Once, do you think they're going to put a strain on their third film? That second feature was brought to the big time. It's like Tarantino and Pulp Fiction, you know, like, are they going to scale back?
You know, it's interesting. I think that we're seeing this in real time right now with the transition from the movie Parasite into Mickey 17. It is really hard to follow something up after you have already achieved the greatness. So I'm very excited to see what they're going to do next. I think that they understand humanity so well that they're going to make us all cry over laundry and rocks and farting again. I think that they're going to do it. I think they're going to be great.
I only say this, though, because I just saw trailers for the new Lilo and Stitch remake.
Oh, it's live action, right?
It's live action. Yeah. But it's directed by the same guy who made Marcel the Shoe with Shoes On.
Oh, yeah. I loved Marcel the Shell. So good.
I do, too. It is such a sweet hand-animated movie that was made with heart. And I think that Dean Fletcher Camp, you know, took years to make this movie. The movie made, you know, moderate box office, and now he's directing a Disney feature. I worry that when filmmakers become big, then all they go on to do next is franchise and IP movies, and then that's where they get stuck in. And I don't want that to happen to the Daniels. I thought they directed some like Marvel TV shows, but I'm not entirely sure. But I just don't want them to become pigeonholed in that area. That's sort of a statement for other filmmakers out there. Yes, these big studios will pay you a bunch of money to direct their IPs and whatnot. Just don't get stuck in there, all right? Sorry, it's my little rant, and I apologize for doing that, but I just worry about that sometimes with films.
I think that that's a valid concern. So I think that we can both agree that this movie is great, but I would love to hear what you would rate Swiss Army Man out of 7 thumbs up.
I'm going to give it 6.
All right, what does it get docked a thumb for?
It gets docked a thumb just because of that ending a little bit. It's a great ending. I just hate the fact, too, that he's been creepily stalking this girl, and I just don't like it for that.
I think that's reasonable.
I do have some quick comments that I have from fans saying about this movie, if I can read them off real quickly, okay?
Please.
I posted on the Cinema Recalls Facebook group Crack. Nate Withrow says, it was bizarre but fantastic. Nate Withrow does a couple like podcasts. One's called Real Crime Scenes. And then Jason Soto from Rabbit Hole Podcast says, I really like this movie. It was very different and a lot of fun. So,
I could not agree more with both of them. I would give this 7 thumbs up. 7 out of 7 thumbs up. This is my perfect movie. I love it so much. Anything that has a great fart joke and also makes me cry, I'm sold. I'm dang sold. It's perfect.
It is a well-paced movie. In fact, watch it again a second time. I forget how short the movie actually is, and it feels like it could be a little bit longer. I don't know, just after, Mary Elizabeth Winstead says fuck and the credits come up there, I guess I would have had just maybe a little bit more, but it was a good ending right there. I can't complain about that, but it just knocked off that little point there for me. Still love it, though.
Well, Vern, I absolutely love talking movies with you. You talk movies so much on Cinema Recall. Will you tell everybody a little bit more about where they can find you, what they can check out, maybe some exciting things that are coming up?
Thank you for that. Cinema Recall is a little bit on hiatus right now until June. I'm re-releasing all of our episodes we've done on David Cronenberg for our Chronicles of David Cronenberg retrospect, where I have guests come on and we talk about David Cronenberg films. And then in June, we're going to try to restart the whole podcast on a different hosted site. But please We have tons of great episodes on cinemarecall.net or go to our YouTube page. Check out the fun episodes we did with Keely talking about Willard and
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck. Just been a wonderful guest on our show. Yeah, we're going to be doing more things, but new episodes will wait until after June.
I am always so excited to see whenever you're posting stuff. I do have to ask, though, before I listen to your whole David Cronenberg series, do you have a favorite Cronenberg film? That's a hard question.
It is a hard one. It's actually kind of a tie between Videodrome and Crash.
I wasn't expecting you to say Crash for some reason, but
really?
That's awesome. I don't know why. I don't know what I was expecting.
It's Roseanne Arquette in those, that outfits and that scar in her leg and everything too. Ooh.
All right, touche. I get it now. Again, thank you so much, the Vern. Links to all of the Vern stuff will be down below. I cannot say thank you enough for coming and hanging out and talking with me about one of my favorite movies, Swiss Army Man. So thank you again.
Thank you, Keely.
And thank you guys. And I'll see y'all soon.